in this room. Thank you, Gail, so much for all your hard work. We appreciate it. A couple things about Zoom, and especially in this room. We need to speak loudly so that everybody can hear. So if you have questions, please speak with a non-indoor voice. So with your loud voice, but don't scream, but just make sure we can speak loudly. Right, Gail?
Yes.
Because it transcribes, and if it doesn't hear us, then it doesn't go onto the recording and to the transcription. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So welcome to our first fall APAC meeting. Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you to all of our connecting sites. We see Spokane. Hi, can you hear us?
Yep.
Yes, we can. Good morning.
Perfect. We have Eric, who is joining us soon to be from the fair.
Oh,
Can
I was out at the fair this morning, so
Oh.
taking a break to get in on this meeting. I'm waiting for a text to see when my son is going to be showing his leopard gecko at the fair.
Big show. Well, congratulations, and hopefully we hear some good news about Benny later. We have Wenatchee. Oh, Wenatchee.
Yep, this is Brady Wenatchee.
Perfect. And Tri-Cities?
Hi, this is Michelle Parvinen in Tri-Cities.
Great. And Puyallup?
Hi, this is Jenny in Puyallup.
Hi, Jenny. And Everett?
Good morning, this is Anna in Everett.
Hi, Anna. And Vancouver will be joining us shortly, I believe.
I'm here.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you on there.
Hi.
Nikki. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So again, welcome everybody. So what we are going to do is just start with some introductions. And if you've never been to one of our meetings before, I'd like to go around the room and to all of our connecting sites and have everybody introduce themselves and just say something new, exciting that's happening in your area. It's one way that we can all kind of learn what the entire university is doing, because a lot of us are in our own little silos in our own units, and we have no idea what Tom might be doing over in athletics now that he left Carson College last year. And so it's a good way for us to all kind of get to know each other and know what we do. So I will start. I am Stephanie Rink. I am the chair for APAC this year. And something new and exciting about the Carson College of Business is on August 19th, we launched our very new undergraduate curriculum called the Next Carson Coup. And all of our students in our first class of B100 are super engaged and exciting, and it's a big, big thing for us. So we are quite excited about that. Sorry, Eric, if I stole that from you, but I did. This is really awesome. So.
Gail Anderson, I am staff support for both APAC and Faculty Senate, so that keeps me quite busy. Faculty Senate is gearing up to begin their meetings September 19th, and we have our steering meeting later on today, so we're just gearing up for a busy season.
Good morning, I'm Sue Gilchrist, Vice Chair for APAC this year. Assistant to CIO Sashi Koi over in IT, and I asked him this morning, what's exciting in our area? And he's like, in IT? I don't know. It's exciting. He had a lot of ideas, but he said they weren't that exciting. I think it is. We have what it's called. I'm not used to it because I don't have an iPhone, but personal assistant, I guess, is what it's called. So you can query, kind of like a Siri query, but it's directly right to WSU questions and answers for students or employees here. So that's something they're working on. I guess the personal assistant IBM wants. So that's what he thought was exciting.
Tom Sanford, WSU Athletics. Something new that we're doing in athletics is we just released our new strategic plan. So that's been exciting and busy at the same time. So.
Good morning, my name is Brandon Friss. I'm an academic coordinator and advisor in biology. So one of the things we're doing exciting is tonight is our annual research night, where we're going to have 10 faculty presenting their research to undergrads over free pizza to hopefully get them involved in some labs.
I'm Joanne Green. I'm with University Recreation here in Pullman. And something exciting we're doing this year is we're trying to work with other locations as well to launch an esports program.
Stacey Bell, Facility Services. My first time attending, so
I guess we just get to do exciting jobs that your departments are all pursuing in facilities now, so fun support.
I'm Jessica Johnson, work for Accounts Payable and Travel Services. This is my first time as well. A couple exciting things, we're gearing up for modernization, so super exciting, all the meetings that we're going to and attending to get ready for that big project. And then we have a busy time right now in AP and travel, but we're staying on top of everything for y'all.
Ron Langasher, Information Technology Services. I do the admin stuff over there, so I'm going to sit behind Sue Gilchrist's information about what's exciting in IT right now. She's much more into that than I am.
Craig Cole, Facility Services as well. Been in APAC, this is my third year. Some of the exciting things, so we just started the 1921 biennium. We just received our capital appropriation for that, so guess what? Now we start the 21-23 build. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next 6 months. We're going to be involving departments, colleges, in the development of that capital plan. So that's what we're going to be doing.
Allie Bredhauer, I work out of the Office of Academic Engagement, and something new is our department, which is only 2 years old, recently merged with the Office of Undergraduate Education to become the Division of Academic Engagement and Student Achievement.
Lisa Gehring, HRS, and just a reminder, the Quarter Century Club is this month on the 25th. Good deal. And then also we hired a compensation manager, Melissa Donato. Many of you are aware we were in the process of attempting to hire that for quite a long time, so we're excited. She's in the training period, and you'll be hearing more to come.
Well, that's what I was going to talk about, so now I'm sure what I'm going to talk about. I'm Anita Orton. I'm also Human Resource Services, and as many of you are, and some of you spoke to, we're very busy working on developing the processes that we'll be using going forward.
I'm Casey St. Clair. I work in sponsored programs, and the most exciting thing for me right now is that we have a draft policy that we're starting to round for comment on how to define institutional base salary and salary cap on sponsored projects.
Jeff Gosser, represent stores and receiving. At stores, we have a survey that's going to come out on Monday, and it's going to just go over all the services that we provide and let people know. And so if it doesn't get out to you guys, just let me know. I can float it your way. But it's pretty extensive. We're working with SESRC and putting this whole thing together. So we really want to get value feedback so we can figure out, because we have so many changes going on right now with we're getting a new website, just Workday. And so let me know if you don't get it.
And I'm Jacqueline Southwick. I work in ITS, and something exciting we have going on right now, in addition to the personal assistant, is we have our annual report that was just published. I'll send Gail a link that she can share with everyone. It highlights a lot of the key projects that ITS does throughout the year to support the university. So it's a great visual. If you're wondering what we do, we can tell you.
Josh Whiting, I work in the College of Engineering, Electrical Engineering, Computer Science, and we are going through our accreditation process, and so we're having our program evaluators come in the next couple of weeks, so there's a lot of stuff to go on that to try and get everything tied into a nice pretty bow.
I'm Karen Garrett. I'm the APAC treasurer this year, and probably the exciting thing that we're just getting ready to launch is called Microsoft Teams. And it will replace Skype probably shortly after the first of the year, and it's going to do everything but your laundry. So just hang tight, it's on its way.
Darn.
I know, I was looking for laundry.
Does the personal assistant do laundry? I mean, that would be nice if we could get that. Okay, that'd be nice if we could get it somewhere. That would be nice.
We're working on it.
That's a great time. Hi, I'm Annie Reedinger. I'm the organizational change lead for modernization, and I get some time to talk about all of the fun things that we're working in the department on right now. So.
We're going?
Everybody has
Okay.
to go around.
I'm Matt Skinner, Associate Vice President for Finance Administration. Excited to be here with you. Trying to think of exciting things going on. There's lots of excitement, of course, with the start of the new semester at all of our campuses here in Pullman. Our soft. We kind of watch how long the line gets outside of the student accounts receivable to see how we're doing in meeting customer needs. We saw very small, much smaller lines this year, so that's a small thing we're really excited about, being able to serve our students better during that first couple weeks of school. Also throw out there that right now a few of my teenage kids are going to a dance this weekend that's 80s themed. So if you have any ideas on 80s costume, that's been a lot of fun in our house the last week and a half thinking about 80s costumes. My personal preference, see if you guys pick up on this, is I told them to dress up like the Cobra Kai in the black outfits. And then I had to explain what the Karate Kid movie was, of course, and why that would be so great. And they told me nobody's going to know what that is, but I actually think they might do it. I think we might send them as the members of the Cobra Kai from the Karate. So,
I have a
yeah,
question.
sweep the leg. That's
Is it music from the 80s at the dance as
yeah,
well?
it's going to be a mix,
Mix?
right? I
That's
think they'll
awesome.
mix it up. So not too much 80s, or everybody would be like, this is horrible.
Or they would be like, this is amazing.
Or, yes, that's exactly right.
The
I love
parents
it.
might have more fun.
That's right. That's great.
I'm Rebecca Marshall. I work in the Attorney General's office here. I've only been here a few months, so I don't really know a whole lot of what's going on down there. They are remodeling, so I will finally have a desk, which will be awesome. That's important. Always good. It's always helpful.
Hi, I'm Tammy Cunningham. I work in the Department of Plant Pathology, part of Connors. I started this new position in May, but something exciting going on. We have our fall festival tonight if you'd all like to join. Tells everything that Connors does. So each of the departments, it's out on the Spillman Plaza. We're serving fire fans ice cream.
Good morning, I'm Roxy Holden, project manager with Facility Services, and my first year as an APAC committee member. That's exciting. And right now I've been really busy working with the design teams for the new Rec 5 Plant Sciences building by Johnson Hall for the interior and furniture, as well as the new baseball clubhouse building and an academic building that'll be new in the Tri-Cities, in addition to departmental jobs.
Hi. Oh. We'll go to Nikki in Vancouver.
Hello, I'm Nikki. I'm from Vancouver. It's very busy. I have a staff member who left 2 weeks ago, so I'm doing all of our student activities at this moment, and our students are very, very busy right now.
And Everett?
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm Associate Director of Student Services here in Everett. One exciting thing we're working on next week, we'll have our first ever career fair here in Everett. So our students are really excited, and it's been a lot of work, but we're excited to have a lot of employers here.
Hi, I'm Mike Guerra with Connors IT here in Everett. So the big thing going on this week is upgrades to the network at the Snohomish County Extension Office, and then in a month or two we'll work on the King County Extension Office.
Great, thank you. Spokane?
I go first. Pat Muntz, WSU Spokane County Extension. And our offices throughout the extension system are either finishing up the fair, in the fair, or starting our community-based education classes.
And I'm Carla Ely Marroquin. I'm the WSU Spokane APAC Council member. I work for Student Affairs doing academic scheduling. And the exciting thing in our department is we are hiring 3 people, one person for the front office, one person in diversity and international student support, and for admissions and coordination. So I'm excited that we will have extra help and support in our office soon. So.
Yeah. My name is Jackie Snyder. I have recently been hired to be the access coordinator for Spokane, Yakima, and the College of Medicine. And I'm really excited to be here. And that's the new and exciting news, is that I am here. It's an office of 1, so there's not much else happening other than I'm new.
I'm Jessica Gertis. I work for College of Medicine in our Academic and Community Partnerships Office, which means we build the relationships across the state to support our medical students. My baby is doing K-12 outreach to raise up students in the rural and underserved communities to want to be physicians and fill the healthcare access gap. And I have my first, at 10 a.m. this morning, I had my first presentation for a very large 3-year grant that I'm very excited about.
My name is Debbie Holscher. I'm brand new here to the area as well as the campus. I am the new Contracts and Grants Manager for the Office of Research, College of Medicine. I come from UC Davis, where I spent 15 years there. And so I'm excited about bringing some of the things I've learned and learning some of the things here and so on. College of Medicine, I don't know, I think everything is exciting about it right now. It seems to be very active and blowing up and everywhere. And so just kind of excited about being a part of the sort of a ground floor opportunity to really expand and help the faculty member with their grant monies and help them fund the great projects that they're working on.
Great. Thank you. We'll go to Wenatchee.
Hi, I'm Brady Eldridge. I'm APAC Council. This is my first year. I work for the Northwest Public Broadcasting Service of the Murrow College. And what we've been doing is upgrading sites and equipment to reach more listeners and viewers. We do the radio and the public radio and public TV for WSU. KWSU is the TV station in Pullman there that we handle. But we've been upgrading equipment and adding new sites or moving sites to increase listener and viewership. That's what we've been doing mostly.
Great. Thank you. Tri-Cities?
I am Michelle Parvinen. I am the alternate serving on the council for the first time. I work with Gear Up programs, serving about 22 high schools throughout the Southeast Washington, Columbia Basin corridor. Our exciting things, we're getting lots of programs up and running currently, and we have the National Gear Up Week coming up in the week after next.
Hi, I'm Christopher Cree. I'm a council member from Tri-Cities. Exciting things happening on the campus is we're advertising for some new leadership positions in academic affairs. I work in the grants office, and that's always a busy place. We recently hired a post-award grants person, and I've been helping train her for the last 2 months, and that's been a really great thing to have a second person to help me.
Great. And last, we'll go to Puyallup.
Hi, my name's Jenny Glass. Here at Puyallup, we are kind of excited, we are excited because WSU is going to be featured on the campuses in our community thing that the city of Puyallup is doing. So we have banners going up over town. We have speakers going into the community to talk about all the research and stuff happening here. And then apparently, this is the part I'm not very excited about, the tailgate party on a Saturday. But I'm sure there are many people that will enjoy coming to the campus here, seeing the campus, and watching football. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. So one of the biggest things that I really like about those introductions is it really lets us get to know one another and what we're doing across our university system. And it kind of brings us a little closer together and so we can know what we're doing. So next up, just real quick, I just want to give a couple announcements and then we are going to go right to Matt Skinner and Annie with our wonderful modernization update. Thank you so much. So we had our first APAC forum on the Everett campus on September 4th, which went really well, and we have a list of questions that we are working on getting the answers for that we'll be reaching out to several different offices to help us get those answers and get those questions back up onto our website and back to Everett. September 13th, which is tomorrow, Friday the 13th, we'll be in Spokane. October 1st will be in Tri-Cities, and November 13th will be in Vancouver for those forums. And Pullman will still be scheduled on a later date. We are working with President Schultz on our operating budget for APAC. APAC doesn't have one, has never had one, but we're working on that. We would like to work on goals that our constituents would like us to work on. So if you have any goals, concerns, different things that you would like us to address, please let us know. We can't really do anything unless you tell us what you're wanting and what you're needing. So definitely send myself, Karen, Sue, Gail, an email of different things that you're wanting us to work on. One note, we would like some, I know Carla will be talking about this too, but professional development speakers. One thing I want to make sure that if you have, and this goes to all campuses, if you have a speaker that you think would be really beneficial for really the whole university to hear, because we offer our professional development to everybody, let us know. And it does not have to be on Pullman campus. So if you have somebody who wants to present from Everett, Vancouver, Tri-Cities, they do not have to come here. So just, if you have anybody, let us know if you have any speakers. Also, start to think about our elections coming up in the spring. If you are interested to be one of the executive council members, reach out to us so we can start talking to you, giving you some information. And again, those council members do not have to be on the Pullman campus. Also, you should have received a strategic planning survey from the President's office, and as I know everybody read our newsletter that came out previously this week, another link for the strategic plan survey. So if you can, please go take that survey. It really helps us formulate our strategic planning later. And with sad news, we have to say goodbye to Nikki in Vancouver. So I'm really sad to hear that Nikki's still staying in Vancouver, but she will be off of APAC as she has taken on like 3, 4, 5 full-time positions, pretty much. So she is really busy. So she will be helping us move APAC duties off of her, and we will look at that position later. But Nikki, thank you so much for all of the hard work you have done these past years. And it has been a pleasure working with you while I was on the Vancouver campus and with APAC. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll miss you all.
So with that, are there any questions or comments before we move on to our wonderful presenters? No, great, it's all yours.
All right, so I'm just going to click into the HD line.
And that's raising the bar. That's not really fair. You said wonderful presenters. We just sat back. We're like, okay, who's up? Who's up?
Oh, there it is.
How's everybody doing today? Everybody okay? Been a great day out or what? I was driving to work this morning. It's like, it is beautiful out here, isn't it? Like we had a little bit of rain. Now the sun's out again today. Let's enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it while we can. It's great. If we can get this PowerPoint. We have to hit send on this little thing.
Oh, there it is. Oh, perfect. Can those at the remote site see the presentation?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, everybody, so I'll get us started here. Annie has the bulk of the presentation. I appreciate being able to tag along today and just give some perspective. This is we talked about the modernization initiative. This is the timeline. We've looked at this a few different times together. Just a reminder, the first thing that's really important is you'll see that our goal is to start using Workday almost right in the middle of the project timeline. So that's the reminder. You've heard me say that like 45 times, haven't you? We're going to start using Workday right in the middle of the project timeline. Then we're going to move right into working together to stabilize a new system. And that's just a realization of changing everything about the way we work in our HR, payroll, finance, budget, and grant accounting areas. There's going to be a lot of change for all of us. So we're going to keep working together for a full fiscal year after we start using Workday to kind of stabilize and make sure everything's working the way we need it. And then the fun really starts when we get out to that next year when we start to really optimize and look at how things work. So within this timeline, we just finished up prototype 1. And what is a prototype? Prototype 1 means that we met with our advisory work groups. We have over 30 different advisory work groups that meet with Deloitte Consulting, our consultant firm, and the modernization team, and they meet. They talk about how things work today, how things should work in the future, and they basically are building how this system should work, each one of these advisory groups. They met, they gave their feedback, a prototype of a Workday system was built. We even loaded a little bit of WSU data into that system, and then we brought it back and reviewed it all over. Anybody have a chance to go to the, what we call the P1, the prototype 1 review? Let me get my stats on that, and you probably have this related right now. We had approximately 282 people join that P1 demo via Zoom, and about 150 people in person to watch that. So that was a really nice turnout to see that prototype demo. And now we started all over again. So we got all this feedback. We brought the first prototype back to these advisory work groups. They reviewed it, they gave input, they said this is not working, we'd like to see that, we haven't thought about that yet, what about this? That all gets kind of compiled again, and then the process starts again. Deloitte and our team goes back, we configure the system to try to capture all the feedback and input from the advisory work groups. We load yet more WSU data into the system, so now it's starting to look more and more like WSU. This is exciting. Lisa will be excited about this. We have a supervisor org in Workday for the first time ever of this prototype. That's going to be exciting to see. That is who reports to who in an actual electronic system. We don't have that today. Isn't that great? We have a draft of that in there, and that will be prototype 2, and then we'll follow the same pattern. We'll be back with prototype 2 to meet with all the advisory work groups and have that same conversation again. How is this working? Did this turn out the way you thought? What are we missing? What else do we need to capture? How else can this system work better? Then we'll do another demo broadly to the university community called a P2 demo, where we'll walk through the system again. So I was trying to think of an analogy to talk about all these prototypes. What are all these prototypes? And the best thing I could think of this morning, see if this works for you. I remember being a kid, and sometimes we baked cookies in my house. And that was exciting as we baked cookies. You get out the big metal bowl and you mix together all these ingredients, and then you kind of plop them onto a baking tray in these little lumps of stuff, right? Not very nice looking. And then we put it in the oven, and then I was so eager to be able to have a cookie that some days I remember getting a little chair and I would just sit in front of the oven. And I would just keep turning on the light and looking in, and turning on the light and looking in every few minutes for the 12 minutes they were in the oven. And it was interesting to watch them change from this mound of dough, and then it started to flatten out, then it started to turn brown, and eventually we pulled them out and we ate them. Maybe that works for what we're doing with prototypes in Workday, right? So we put the dough in the oven in prototype 1, okay? And then throughout the next 12 months, we're gonna keep turning on the light and peeking in and seeing how it's baking, how it's coming together. So we're gonna do a prototype coming up here in October, November. And then what's not on the timeline, we're gonna do it again in January, another prototype, and then we'll do another prototype again. What are we on that? March?
Yeah.
Period? Right in March. So we will have had 4 chances to peek at the cookies and see how they're doing with our advisory work groups and all of the university community before we pull them out of the oven and begin eating them next summer when we start using one. Okay. So that's how we describe it. Does that work?
I think you should use that in all your meetings.
I might. It makes me a little bit hungry this morning too.
You just need to bring cookies.
That would be better if we were baking cookies as people came in the room. There'd be this nice aroma. That would be great. Okay. So what else is going on? I mentioned it before. Huge thanks to our advisory groups, 30 plus groups. That's over 260 different individuals that are involved in those advisory work groups. They're meeting all the time, looking at the system, thinking about how it works, reviewing the data, giving input. They're doing a massive amount of work, and it's really all those groups that are helping this come together. It wouldn't be able to happen without all their hard work. The other thing we hope that you're seeing on this timeline is an effort to try to communicate. We'd like to be back with APAC every quarter to give updates. We give a monthly face-to-face update with President Provost, Chancellors, Vice Presidents, and Deans. We do a monthly update with the Finance and Administrative Officer group. We send out a monthly newsletter that's pretty good. If you've been on our website, we keep adding new content to our website. That's really good. And we're getting ready this month to launch our Change Network. And those are over, how many? 365 individuals from each college, campus, and department who will be in a role as a super user or a change agent who we'll be meeting with monthly to help to prepare people, experts if you will, in each unit around the university that can help communicate and help people understand what's happening with the project. That kicks off this month, so we're excited about that. So I'm going to stop talking now and let Andy.
All right. Thank you.
Take over.
So as Matt mentioned, we're going to see a lot of changes with the implementation of Workday. And so we thought this would be a good opportunity to talk to you about change management and what that means for the modernization initiative as well as the entire university. So I wanted to start out with this fun comic. Hopefully you get a little bit of a laugh from this. But with a project of this size, we can anticipate it's going to be a challenge. You know, we've got great enthusiasm and people are ready for, a change and an old system and a new way of doing things. But when we really have to make those shifts and those changes, it can be a challenge for people. So I just think that this, does a nice job of kind of in a fun way depicting reality. And we're going to get through it. And part of our change management strategy is to put tools and resources and support systems in place to make the transition easier, because it will be a challenge. So I just like this kind of as a way to represent that. So for our change management strategy, we have 4 kind of primary components that we are focusing on, and those include communications, engagement, analytics, and training. And through these 4 components, we are trying to reach the entire university community to some extent, depending on how they will be impacted by this major change. So as Matt mentioned, we have a website, so we're using that as kind of our primary platform to reach people so that you don't have to attend a meeting. You can go out to our website and have that access to information at any time. So I encourage you, please check that out. Please also sign up for our newsletter, and then encourage others to go visit that and give us feedback. If there are things that they may be looking for where they have a question that we haven't addressed, we would love that feedback. Also, through engagement activities, we are meeting with groups like this one on a regular basis to get the word out, and also be here to take your feedback and answer any questions. So we're also using the power of data and analytics through collecting data, sending polls and surveys out to really have quantitative data to help inform some of the decisions that we're making, and then also to reinforce and guide some of the project activities that we're carrying out. And then training, this is probably our biggest focus right now, is starting to build out the training curriculum for Workday and what that looks like, knowing that we have almost 10,000 people that we'll need to reach and train to some extent to do various activities within the system. So big focus there. Since we have so many people to reach over the course of the project timeline, we've broken this down into what we're calling campaigns. So at each point in the project, there are certain messages and information that we need to get out there, and then the community needs to take certain actions. And so this is all kind of embedded in our campaign strategy. We're leveraging as many communication channels that are available to us to reach deeper within the organization to really get messaging and to communicate about what people can expect with the rollout of Workday. And then we're also finding opportunities to continue to collaborate with not only our central units, but other university programs and departments to really ensure that we're building the system for the future needs of Washington State University. So we're being really mindful of making sure that we're doing this in partnership across the university. And then one other item I have on here is that for change management, it's not just an ancillary, thing. We're definitely part of the project plan. We have a seat at the table when we talk about the technical components and functional components. So we're in active conversation, so we're aware of what the other teams are doing, so we can support them and vice versa. Anything you want to share on that one, Matt? Okay. All right, so a little bit more details about some of the tactics and materials. We've mentioned some of these before, but these are some of the things that we are doing to really do broad outreach, university-wide, to reach people. So we do have the website, we have a blog. Each month we're ramping up to put more and more out there. As Matt mentioned, we're doing the Change Network. Do we have any Change Network members here in the room? Great, perfect. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And that's great to have you here as well. So polls, surveys, feedback forms, really trying to have as many two-way communications as possible so that we're taking all of that information into account as we continue to move forward with our implementation. So a little bit more of the details about what the project team is up to. So some of our current activities where our teams are hard at work. As Matt mentioned, we are building the prototype, or we also call it the tenant, where the teams are tweaking and tinkering with the system to really meet the business needs of the university. So a couple components of that include what we're calling role to position mapping. So what this is the assignments, the security assignments that people will need within the system to be able to perform the day-to-day functions that they're responsible for. So we went through that exercise with the local leaders just this last month, and that will help to inform some of our business process decisions and get us one step closer to knowing what that will look like within the system. Data cleanup, we've done a ton of work here in partnership with some of the central units to clean data. Given that the system's 30 plus years old, we've got a lot of old data in there that we've never had a reason to really do anything with. But now we need to think about, is it worth bringing forward? Is that still relevant? So a lot of that work is being done. There are also fields within Workday that we don't currently track in our existing systems. So the team is having to derive data and go after pieces of information so that we have the data that's needed to run Workday. As Matt mentioned, our advisory work groups are continuing to work and come up with those business processes that will meet the greatest need across the university. And we'll be sharing out in late October or early November what that prototype 2 looks like, again, with all of WSU. And then training, people can expect to receive training in May of 2020. This is based on kind of best practice, that it's just in time. So this may feel a little bit close to when we're going to actually start using the system, but research tells us that this is kind of ideal timing for people to actually remember that information, so it's not too far out from when they're going to actually be doing those activities within the system. And up next, kind of outside of the Change Network, is we're going to really kick the tires and we're going to test what we've done so far and continue to revise and adjust in the coming months to continue building out the system. So a little bit more about Change Network. You'll hear a lot about this, but what this really is an effort to put people out in each campus, area, department, to arm them with information about the project, give them first looks at some of the training materials that we're developing and other resources so they can share kind of within their units and really be our champions to spread information and support those that they're already supporting in the current state, but just in Workday. So please check out our website on Change Network, and then also inquire within your units who's a Change Network member and see how they may be able to support you. Another plug for P2, if you get the opportunity and you can, please attend this. We want as much participation in this as possible. It's a great way to see what Workday could possibly look like. And please encourage those in your units to attend this event. And with that, we'll open it up. Matt and I can field any questions or feedback that you want to share with us.
So this is the first time we're hearing about P3 and P4. It's sounding like even super users might get their hands on P3 to start playing with it, or do you not see anyone in the campus community touching it until that P4 time period?
Yeah, and that's perfect. Yes, perfect question. And you might hear it referred to as P3 might be called end-to-end. So that's another word for it, P3 or end-to-end. And then you'll hear P4 called the UAT, the user acceptance version. So we'll get started with some end-to-end review of how the system's working or testing. We anticipate bringing a small subset of our advisory work groups in to help do some of that review and testing as that system's coming together during prototype 3. Then we'll have another bigger group of people that will be testing that system as part of the user acceptance or the P4. And then everybody will get broad exposure as we move into the training on the system. So, great question.
Good morning, this is Spokane. Do you happen to know the dates when you'll be doing the P2 presentations at the other locations?
So for the P2 preview, we're looking at late October. So probably the last week of October, we're still confirming space and the logistics around that. But as soon as we know that, we'll let, we can follow up and let this group know, and that will also be available on our website.
And we're just going to do that as a streaming event. Again, that was so interesting to us. We had far more people join that just via Zoom, streaming it from their office location in different colleges and campuses. So we're going to do that as a streaming event again this time because people seem to appreciate being able to join that via Zoom. So.
And we will also be out to each of the campuses in October. So check out our events page for when we be visiting your individual campuses as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do you know about when we'll have somewhat solid dates for the user acceptance and end-to-end training so that people can start kind of chunking that time off?
The reviews. Yeah, doing well.
So for training, we're still building that curriculum, but I would think by probably the winter timeframe after the new year, we'll have a pretty good idea of when you can expect to see some of the training courses. And that will allow people to kind of plan for that, knowing that, they may have to take a certain number of courses. So I would say probably by February, you'll have that information, for training at least.
For training. And for the review of like the end-to-end and the user acceptance tenant, the P3, P4, I think we probably have those dates. I don't have them on the top of my head, but I can get those sent out, the rough timelines when we expect to do that work. It's a great question. Oh yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, I just have a quick question around the change management. So a lot of our staffs, probably across campus and centrally as well, are feeling a little bit uneasy when it comes to this change. So are there additional resources for them to refer to help them maybe overcome some of their anxieties that they might be feeling at this time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's where, I think through all of these different, resources that we're providing out, the Change Network being one of them. But then I think that's also, working with managers, supervisors, and leaders to hear their concerns and, share those with us and their leaders about what those anxieties might be.
And just kind of a follow-up to that one, it's probably a silly question, but is there like a book that you recommend or like a website that you recommend that our staff could refer to? I've gotten that question before.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So what we actually have out there currently on our website, we're calling it a manager's toolkit, but it's available to anyone, where we've planted some resources, so some quick little videos and guides, as well as articles and books that kind of talk about change and how you transition through a change and what that looks like. So I would check that out. But I think that's good feedback for me, that if people are interested in those kinds of resources, that's something that we can kind of take back to the team and see what we can come up with.
I'll just add some perspective to that. I think Jessica asked a really good point there, and we're certainly seeing that in our teams in business and financial services. And I suspect that we're going to see that across all areas. We have great AP and classified staff at WSU, don't we? And they work so hard, and they're really superstars at what they do to support the instruction, research, and public service mission of the university. And within these functions of HR, payroll, budget, finance, accounting, grants accounting, the staff that work in these areas, they're superstars for the work that they do, and they're superstars even using tools and systems that are old and outdated and really cumbersome and really hard to understand how they all work. And regardless of that, they're still superstars. Isn't that amazing how great our staff members are across the campus? So that's a strength. And my sense is people are quite excited to get tools that work as well and as hard as they do every day, which is great. Yet there's some uncertainty there because the same knowledge and expertise that these great people have learned and mastered to serve their departments, colleges, campuses, and units, they know that all that's changing. And that creates, can you feel it? We can all feel that a little bit, that some of our subject matter expertise is moving a little bit, and some of those strengths that we've built on to be able to serve our departments that we work in is changing. And that builds some natural kind of concern, fear of unknown, anxiety about the unknown. So we need to just continue to try to embrace that and then be patient with each other a little bit too, that we're watching the cookies bake a little bit here. And so we're going to learn as much as we can as those cookies bake, and as we get closer and closer and the cookies start to look more like cookies as they bake, then we'll have more and more information for folks for how the system's going to work. And then I think that will naturally kind of start to offset some of that uncertainty about what's coming. And then the good news is our folks that are superstars today, which they are, that support HR, payroll, finance, accounting, budget, grant accounting, all that great work that they do, they're going to be superstars in Workday too. There's no question about it. They're going to learn that even faster than they learned our old archaic processes and paper flows and all the stuff we do today. But that's a really real thing. We feel it every day, don't we, Jessica, as we're interacting with our team. Just that base of knowledge is changing, and it's really unsettling right now for all of us because we know it's changing. We want to know today how it's going to change, and we don't know exactly every detail. It's kind of coming piece by piece. I don't know if you have comments about that, Jessica, Casey. We're living it every day in our office, aren't we?
I have a follow-up question with that. So with all the changes, and we don't know exactly how some of our end users, like some of our administrative assistants, will be using Workday and how their position might change. So have you looked at other universities that have done similar to see what negative changes occurred? And if you have, what are some of those negative changes, and what are you doing to help mitigate those?
Well, negative changes, that's a great question, Stephanie. I don't know that it's going to change that much. I think that each area, each college campus administrative unit is going to need to decide how they want to build their workflows. We do that with the role to position mapping that Annie said. And so they'll be able to decide where transactions are going to initiate. They'll decide how does that make swear? Where a transaction is going to initiate, they'll decide who can initiate that transaction. They'll be given the role in the system to be able to initiate that transaction. And then there'll be people that approve transactions, and those folks for each college or campus that need to approve those transactions will be given that role. And that's how we create that workflow electronically. In some ways, that's not all that much different than what we do today with the pieces of paper. Except the pieces of paper are really nimble, aren't they? Because we can send them wherever we want for different approvals, and we'll have to kind of put structure around that process. So each business process knows in the system where it's supposed to go. Where sometimes paper, we just say, well, I think I'll send this to this person. Oh, maybe it should go to this person, and it routes a little more free-flowing. But I don't think we've heard a lot of negativity about that, except it is going to force us to define that. I know for my own area as an administrative area, starting to think through how we want those workflows to work is really new to us because we haven't thought about it for a really long time. And so we're asking ourselves some challenging questions about, okay, what transactions should units originate? Which transactions should originate at kind of like the dean's office level? Asking ourselves those kind of questions. And as we answer those, then we'll be able to build that workflow in the Workday.
I think some staff might be feeling a little uneasy because if things are decentralized and will start to be centralized more, how are their positions going to change?
Yeah, and I don't know what you mean. What do you mean by centralized?
Well, so for transaction processing, so if there's a transaction like a purchasing being done within, units, departments, but then if that's going to be centralized to let's just take my college. So if our administrative assistants are purchasing things, but then it's going to be centralized to a central purchaser in the college, then what happens to those positions who used to do those? So I think we have a lot of staff that might be feeling uneasy about how their role is going to change because nothing's really been spoken about.
Yeah, and I think the best place to start those conversations is within your local leadership team. because we're going to let the leadership of a college decide where transactions initiate and where they get approved. We're not going to dictate that centrally, how that works. So that will be in that example, that'll be a College of Business decision for who can initiate transactions and who can approve. And it might be different based on the type of transaction, but we're not setting a standard for that for each unit. We're going to let local leadership make those decisions.
Just to follow on to that, many of those business processes will still originate at the college department unit level. But yes, like Matt said, the actual decision of who is going to take that responsibility for initiating that business process, that is a responsibility or a decision that's going to be made locally.
I would like to, this is Debbie from Spokane. I'm new and I'd like to just sort of jump in, and I just came from UC Davis, where the University of California system completely changed to a new system called UC Path, which basically is a shadow, it's a parallel to what's happening here right now for Workday, where they went from dinosaur DOS to, the new, more centralized systems, but also decentralizing some things. And I was a part of the beta testing. I was a part of some of the things that we all now working on with the prototype stuff. And what I saw from my team and my staff in the department, at the department level, which is much more decentralized, I'm finding, than Washington State. But the biggest concern for me as manager and as a leader in the department was, oh gosh, how is this going to affect the workflow, which will disrupt how my staff can help faculty? So that was like the core issue. And then the other core issue was, we know what we know. It may be horrible and it may be completely backwards, but we at least know how to do it, and we do it very well and very as efficiently as possible. So now we have this huge learning curve of new stuff, which interferes with our normal workday process. And so then my staff was worried about being able to get their stuff done, like being able to submit grants and being able to, so that was their concern. And I think at the end of the day, that as we proceed through and have a patience and understanding that we as the leaders may need to come up and help bolster some of their basic stuff so that they can better understand how to do their new stuff, that will really give them the sense of empowerment and encouragement and confidence that what's going to happen next, this is a growing pain. And likening your cookie analogy, there's one step that I think was the worst step for me in the cookie process, and that was after you take the cookies out of the oven, you have to let them cool before you touch them. And that cooling process is probably the most painful, because it's just right there and you want to get it so badly, but you have to wait and get through this sort of painful process of actually getting ready to eat the cookie. So I want to encourage you all. I don't fully understand and appreciate exactly what this system's going to be for Washington State, but I can tell you, having just come from the UC Path change for the entire UC system, it wasn't just Davis, it was the entire system, that it was, there were some challenges, but at the end of the day, there's just training, support, overcoming those issues, and moving forward. So I really think that this is going to be an awesome opportunity for everyone, and I think it's going to be fine.
Right, and that's great perspective. Thank you for sharing that, just kind of hot off of that experience. That is really helpful.
Are there any other questions for Matt or Annie?
So we're going to be rolling out training in May for end users. Can you kind of outline, since we're not going to be able to talk to you again before then, can you kind of outline to us how that's going to look from your core users to basically end users type of thing?
Yep, I can take that one. So what will be kind of a key component to training is the role to position mapping. So based on what role assignments certain people have within Workday will help to guide us in which courses we suggest that people take to learn the new materials. So we'll go through a couple iterations of that to make sure that areas have people in the right roles. So that will be one piece of this. Another is we're going to be using the university's learning management system to push out all of the courses that are available based on certain groups. So also leveraging that as a tool. And then what the training is maybe for our central unit teams will be a little bit different than those that are out in department. So we're actively working through what that curriculum looks like and what are the business processes that each group may be needing to take. So and through that, we will be offering instructor-led trainings, virtual-led trainings. We are also building online materials so that you don't have to go to a classroom. You can watch it, at 10 o'clock at night if you wanted to. And then we're also, as part of our strategy, thinking about sustainability of materials so that there is a wide variety, multiple learning methods to get at the information that you'll need to have. I don't know if that answers your question if you're looking for more specifics, but Matt, if you want to add anything.
I would just add in one more thing we're adding in addition to the instructor-led and virtual training. The one I'm excited about is the quick guides, because at least for me, I go to a training and I think I really understand it, and then about a week later I need to use it, and it's just, I sometimes am not exactly, I'm a little cloudy on what I heard in the face-to-face or the instructor-led training. So these quick guides I think will be really powerful, and there'll be things like, what if I want to requisition a microscope today? How do I do that? Quick guide for purchasing, how to initiate that. Oh, I need to submit my request for time off. How do I do that? Just those kind of quick step guides I think will be really powerful. And then I just clarify, Annie did a nice job of differentiating some training between central office staff will have some different training needs than the general university community. And I'll give you an example of that is departments will initiate payroll type transactions, but will still have a payroll office that has to run payroll, right? And so they need training specifically on to how to do that back office work to run payroll and Workday, and we'll be training them with kind of a unique curriculum specific to them. That happens in a lot of our other offices in HR, payroll, sponsored, travel, AP, accounts receivable, accounting. There'll be some what I call back office operations that have to happen to keep the system running and processing that team will need to be expert on as well, as in addition to understanding how the whole system works. So.
And I forgot to add this, we're also going to do practice labs. So you might take a virtual training or an in-person training, but then as a part two, you'll have the opportunity to do a practice lab. So you can take what you've learned in that, first, course and then really, get into the system. And I'm going to try to do a purchase order or whatever that training might be so that people have more confidence and comfort with how to actually carry out that process.
So one final thing then, from a manager's perspective then, it'd be nice to know, in as far in advance, is about how much time by role you anticipate that training might take.
Yeah.
Because we need to be able to plan for that, going into May and everything else is that each person, because they have a day job, how much time do we need to set aside in that month for those different roles? So
great idea.
You may have that already, you may not, but that's something that I think needs to roll out, especially the managers and above, what that impact's gonna be.
Yeah, that's great suggestion, thank you.
And I'm surprised this haven't came across on the faculty side, because that is their worst time of year to be doing anything. And whatever it is, the 20th of May, a lot of them go on summer break. So, and they're no longer employees. So their timeline in May is going to even be scrunched even further. So
great, thank you.
Not that I'm faculty member, but I've heard their concerns.
That's perfect feedback. Thanks, Craig.
Okay.
Do you all have some of the modules or components like the time clock system available for us to look at? Just wondering if we're going to go like from our time clock system to Workday, which sounds like it's going to provide us with some good data. We've got about 3 students to train to use the system and each location. We're just wondering about better how that people will come out to make sure if there's some actual time clock by or anything like that we're ready for all that.
Yeah, so for time, entry, time and leave and absence, and all of that will be. Oh, sorry.
Is that our time's up? Is that what that is?
Not behind the keyboard, sorry about that.
But back to answer your question, that will be part of our training curriculum, because time and leave is such a big change and affects so many people. That is one that we're currently working through. What is the best approach to get out, deep within the organization to help people that have a significant number of student employees, and what does it look like? So that's definitely on our radar, and we're thinking through how we're going to approach that one.
Joanne, you might also just double check who is on the time and leave advisory group from your area, because they'll have kind of an inside track on how this is coming together as well, which would be really good, because that advisory group is kind of helping us decide which functionality will be applied to each unit.
Okay. Well, thank you, Matt and Annie, so much for coming and talking to us about this wonderful, exciting new adventure that we're on.
Okay, thank you. Can I just say thank you? Please, this is great. We love coming here. Please keep the comments, questions, concerns, feedback, ideas, just keep it coming. As we continue to talk, continue to work at this, we've got a chance to get it done right. So thank you for your help.
Thank you.
We just keep coming back to get prizes every time.
We might have to think of something else to do next
Thank
time.
you.
Okay, so we are going to finish up in the next 23 minutes with some committee chair updates. So we will go to Brandon and Tom for the Bylaws Election Strategic Plan Committee.
Okay, so for the Bylaws and Strategic Committee, Plan Committee, we're really kind of continuing on with what our previous chair led with at the end of the spring. We had some election guidelines, revisions, and additions that we submitted last semester that we feel pretty happy about. That we're going to continue. But I think our priority number one for us is going to be developing and continuing the design of a scorecard for our various subcommittees to use to align with our 2013 mission statement to make sure everyone's on track. So that's going to be priority number one, I think, for us. And then just implementing the election guidelines and revisions. Anything else, Tom?
Yeah, so just probably gonna be reaching out to the subcommittees, kind of get your input, so we can just kind of update that scorecard. What you guys need.
That's a great idea.
Great, thank you, Brandon and Tom. Eric, are you still with us, or did you run off to the fair?
No.
We can't hear you, Eric.
How about now?
Perfect.
All right. I was trying to use the little shortcut keys on Zoom and it wasn't working. So with the Marketing Communications Committee, the thing that we're really going to focus on this year is taking a look at our kind of digital assets and how we can use those to our advantage to really tell the APAC story. Over the past year and a half or so, we're doing more to get the message out about different events and doing the promotion, like traditional advertising side of it. But where we have an opportunity is really to tell the APAC story of our members, story of successes for other administrative professionals. One tool that we need to focus on is the website, like I said, really taking a look at reducing what I call the bloat of the website. So looking through the copy, writing it for brevity. There's a lot of redundant information. So really doing a comprehensive audit of that. That's kind of the first phase of it. And then the second phase will be doing a redesign to really make it easier to find information. And WSU Communicators meeting last week, the University Marketing Communications Central talked about their push to launch a new WordPress template. They're looking at doing that in December. So really our second part of the design would be aligning with the University Marketing Communications initiatives. And then the second goal overall is just finding new opportunities and strategies to engage our AP community. One opportunity is really growing kind of the social media engagement. Thinking about what Stephanie said earlier at the meeting with the operating budget and doing the review with President Schultz. Our WSU administrators are really active on social, and if we can do more to kind of show what we're doing for our APs across the WSU system, event engagement, really sharing and telling our story, I think that that can go a long ways in further showing the value that APAC provides to the administrative professional community.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Eric, I don't believe I'm getting the newsletter. Is anybody else not getting the news? Is everybody getting the APAC newsletter? I'm the only one.
Okay, let me.
Okay.
Sue, thank you for letting me know that. I'll go
I
through.
thought maybe there were others that
I'll go through the mailing list and make sure to get you on there. I don't know why you wouldn't be on there, but I can definitely add you. And I think Sue brings up a good point. If anybody at any time has issues or is not receiving the newsletter, please reach out to me and I will get you added. Or if you hear any of your colleagues that are interested that aren't getting it for some reason, let me know and I want to get them on the list.
Great, thank you, Eric, and good luck to Vinny and the leopard gecko.
Thank you. In fact, I think I'm going to log out right now, and then I'll review everyone else's updates later. But yeah, get to the fair and show that leopard gecko.
Carla, for professional development.
Thanks, Stephanie. And I've got my PowerPoint, Gail, so if that makes it easier. So I'm the co-chair of the Professional Development and Events Committee with Anna McLeod and Everett. And so our committee is tasked with doing all the professional development events for APAC. Upcoming, we have Kevin Parker in October on the 15th. So if you can save the date and save the time, we'll have updates on that on our website. We also schedule all of the speakers for the APAC meetings, and I've got a list here, and these will also be on the website. Professional development also, sorry about that, Pat. Professional development also has a mini grants available. You can get up to $250 towards training, professional development, going to conferences. Applications are accepted for fall and spring. The first deadline is coming up soon in October on the 31st, and the spring deadline is April 30th. For more information, please check out our website. It has details, what you need, and the information you need for the application. Administrative professional contribution awards are also decided on by our committee. That's in the spring. The nomination form will be available then. So we want you to hopefully nominate your members of your department, other APs that do exceptional work and contribute to WSU and their area and the unit and to the community. So be looking for that and thinking about somebody in your department that you think that you would like to recognize for those awards. The last few years, the president has put a monetary amount to those awards, so there might also be a financial incentive for those awards too, so be thinking of that. And then for the events committee, we take care of the Staff Appreciation Week. The date is to be announced. We also do presentations for staff during the noon hour. That would be another great thing if you have ideas on presentations that you think would be very helpful for AP staff and all staff across the WSU community. We do a special treat at the main campuses, and be watching for more information on the APAC website. And thank you all very much. And that is an update from the Professional Development and Events Committee.
Thank you, Carla.
Carla, when do you,
Carla?
when do you think
Carla,
that
this
the sign up will go into effect for the Eric Parker presentation? Because I went and I couldn't sign up.
Oh, Kevin Parker, we don't have it up yet. We're waiting on some information from Kevin to make sure that we have everything that he's going to present on, including learning outcomes and those types of things. Once we have that information, we'll have that up and available. We're hoping here by the end of the month.
Carla, this is Jenny in Puyallup. Will that be available by Zoom?
Yes, it will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Carla.
Brandon and Casey for the President's Scholarship Committee.
Yeah, so we just wrapped up our second semester of the Presidential Scholarship, which pays for 3 credits of global campus classes. Currently, we've got 11 students that should have received the waiver by now. So we went the offer to 12. There's one more I'm following up with. But 11 staff currently have been awarded that. And then I drafted a memo that the committee has that we're reviewing to kind of get some final touches on. And then we're going to pair that with our headshots and bios, kind of in a document that we created last semester, also to you, Stephanie, for marketing purposes, and to Eric. And then going forward, it's just kind of setting new timelines. We've learned quite a bit going from the first semester to the second semester, and I think we'll learn probably just as much going from second to third in terms of kind of how to make this as streamlined as we can possibly make it. So that's going to be coming up. It's just using what we've learned now to kind of make it even more streamlined.
Great, thank you. Karen, budget.
We have not met because we are still waiting on the president to make a decision on how he wants us to run, because that's going to really change how we look at our money, whether we still get our $7,700 and we just make it fly and then we go to him every time we need more money, or whether he gives us a real operating budget and then everybody's kind of expected to stay within that budget. So I hope to hear back from him very soon, and as soon as we do, we'll have a budget meeting, and then we will probably be reaching out to each of the units and saying, okay, here is your money for the year, and so it may really change the way that we have always done business. And I'm excited for that opportunity, but I think it's going to be it's going to be a change in the way that we do business. So anyway, hang tough, and hopefully we'll have a lot more updates in October.
The only thing that I would add is that, if you are going to expense something, please kind of let the executive team know that an expense is going to be made. Because again, if it's within that planned budget, then that's kind of anticipated. But if that budget gets trimmed, then we want to keep those expenses between now and when we get that final budget, we want to keep those to a minimum.
Exactly. Any questions?
Thank you, Karen. Casey, salary.
So the Salary Equity Task Force met late August for a kickoff meeting. The Commission on the Status of Women also is part of this, which I'm also part of the commission, and we met with Kirk and Mitzi for our annual wrap-up, and the good news is they're really supportive of this task force. So even without our official formal ask, they're already expressing that they're willing to support. What we know we're going to ask for so far is 2 grad assistants or TAs to help with the actual data analysis. Obviously, the access to faculty and staff data that's going to help us determine what equity looks like or doesn't look like. We're asking to make the task force permanent because, if you recall, it is still a pilot thing right now. We're asking very specifically for representation from leadership because since Kelly Ward's passing last year, we haven't had an executive sponsor, and we still have yet to have somebody named to replace her. And then the last thing we're proposing that we know of is for a phase 1 of the permanent study to be a quantitative study, and then a phase 2 follow-up with some qualitative analysis to get kind of the stories why things are the way they are. I'm hoping that the compensation manager that HRS just hired is going to be part of this. Yay, that's good news. And then what I was tasked to bring back to APAC is just to make sure we're asking you what questions you want answered as part of this study. So I know we're short on time already, so if we don't have time for discussion, just shoot me an email. Let me know if there's something specific that you want to make sure we're addressing. Bottom line, though, is we're asking for the maximum amount of data we can get our hands on so that we can cross-section it, as much as possible across location, position description, gender, all the things we can think of.
Are there any questions or comments for Casey? Okay, thank you, Casey. Next order of business is, I'm sure everybody read the minutes from Gail and are well versed in everything that was in it. So back from our May meeting. Does anybody have any edits, questions, comments before we motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All those opposed, or all those in favor to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All of our campus representatives, say aye. I'll take that as an aye. Any opposed? All right, so the approval of minutes are passed, and we have new business from Brandon and Tom on the guideline election amendments.
Do we?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think we're good. I think that's kind of covered under election guidelines, kind of what I touched on earlier. So I think that's just kind of pulling under our regular subcommittee duties, so.
Okay, well, I thought we were going to elect Pullman alternates since we didn't have any Pullman alternates. We were going to do that at a retreat, and so then.
Well, we can do that in October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that in October.
Beautiful. Are there anybody who would like to raise any issues, concerns from our other campuses around the table? Yes.
Well, I have one quick thing. I've served on the Employees Health and Safety Committee for far too long. Because I thought it's very interesting, but it's just something I'm not gonna have time for. And Craig's there at almost every meeting, so if we don't have an official rep, I guess.
Well, not anymore.
Oh, you're not going either? Okay, so it's about employee health and safety as it pertains to things going on in WSU. They meet the first Tuesday of the month from 11:10 to noon. And we are really looking for somebody to step up that wants to take on that role. I just am not gonna have time. So, if anybody's interested, please, I guess, Gail, do you still have to get them assigned to that, or I know at one time I got a letter saying, congratulations, you get to come, but, I don't know if we have to do that still.
Yeah, I'm not
Anyway,
sure.
let Gail know so we can make sure that's filled. Like I said, it's pretty interesting. I don't know, the remote sites, they do have a phone-in number, if somebody remotely wants to attend, so, anyway, let Gail know.
Thank you, Karen. Any other issues or questions, comments, concerns, kudos, anything that you would like to speak of?
This is Carlin Spokane. Did we find somebody to be on the status of the Commission of Women Committee yet too? That was also open, correct?
I sent that information. I have not heard. Casey, do you know, did they accept our person?
I'm sorry.
The status.
The CSW rep for APAC.
That's me, Margaret.
I don't know, do we have an ex officio yet?
I sent the name.
Me.
Yes, Margaret from Seattle.
Oh, okay, yes, great. Perfect. Thank you, Margaret.
Sorry, membership coordinator handles that.
Anything else, or forever hold your peace? Great.
Stephanie, this is.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
So
This
close.
is Jenny.
Good.
You had asked about ideas for various things to consider on this committee.
Yes.
And when we met together at campus last time, one of the things President Schultz had mentioned would be that the, raises that were coming up would be, what was the word he used, that he quickly took back, what is, I can't think.
Yeah, President Schultz talked about the merit rate, that the
Merit.
raises will be addressed to the merit based on our evaluations, and then he quickly took that back.
Right.
And
Thank you so much.
our HR reps are sitting here, they can speak on that if you so wish.
Yes,
So-
it's across the board.
Right, so that was one of the things I've been wondering about since that meeting, is if maybe we could develop a committee to kind of discuss annual reviews, the fact that they're somewhat arbitrary, that, we're not all being asked the same questions, the numbers change year to year, so that, and then there's nothing, like if you got a bad review one year, there's no set thing to help you improve. Because right now, I understand the president's probably not going to do anything merit-based, but we have no system on which we could even do a merit-based because there's nothing there. I'm sure other universities don't have such an amorphous annual review process as does WSU. That was just my idea.
That's a great idea, and we will review that. That also was a question that came up on our, at our Everett Forum of like a standardization for reviews.
Way too hard.
Thank you, Jenny. Any
Thank you.
other topics, questions? Casey, did you want to speak anything more about the Salary Equity Task Force?
I guess if anybody offhand has, just a broad question that you want to make sure that we're framing the ask around so that we can answer that question when we get the data back, then toss it out there.
I know what came up on the Everett campus again was the making sure that when they're offered salary on the different locations to make sure it's equitable compared to the market of where they live.
Geographic,
Yeah.
We are trying to make sure that we account for the campus you are assigned to as part of the data that we get, so that that's one way we can slice it. We'll be able to look at trends that way from, one campus to another, or isolate one campus to see what it looks like just there. As you know, especially with civil service, which is something we're trying to include, theirs is somewhat regulated by the state, but for the APACs, yes.
Great.
maybe put some information out there at our next meeting. Is it our reception or not?
Do you want to?
No,
that's
all I know.
So our next meeting, Carlo, who is joining? Is it Matt Jockers for our
It
October
is.
speak?
It is, and then we also have a comment here in Spokane before we move forward.
Would it be possible to do a forum for extension personnel? Because we're scattered all over the place, and none of us are, really able to get to a campus or anything like that.
Zoom one? Would a Zoom meeting work for all the extension personnel?
As far as I know, it would work well.
All right, we will get on that. Thank you for that idea.
And Stephanie, I'd like to talk to you on the phone to see about, just discussing the extension issues in general to get a plan together for working with the group.
Perfect. If you want to reach out to me and schedule a time, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you.
2 minutes. Anything else, or would you like to leave 2 minutes early?
Well, just a reminder, the APAC Forum in Spokane is tomorrow for anybody out there listening that may not be in the room here. Tomorrow, 11 o'clock in Academic Center, room 501. So.
The October 15th, the professional development, that's all day, correct?
It is all day. It's 3 hours in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and it will be over Zoom and available for all campuses.
And well worth your time if you haven't heard him.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Gail, we have our reception that evening at the President's House,
We
right?
do have, yes, we do have a reception that the invite is coming. It is scheduled the evening of October 15th. I don't have the date or the time. Most likely it'll be like 5 to 6:30. So we are hoping that the APAC members can come. So travel arrangements, if you need any, let me know. We're probably gonna have to bring you in the night before because if there's flight times, it'll just be a little
And
bit
the airport
easier.
here's closed right now or not yet?
It should be open.
It should be open,
Already,
right,
okay.
right.
October 4th it opens, and then October 10th it's
Wow.
fully open with new
Right.
stuff.
Good.
So we are just waiting for the President's Office to send those invitations out. So
Yes, so.
hopefully
please-
it doesn't change.
Yeah, so please RSVP promptly to let Mary know if you can or can't attend.
Yeah, especially the remote folks.
Okay, it's 10:30, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sue, for my profile of M&M.
I was waiting to see who you were giving that away to.
It says-
Oh, nice.
Every year, like.
So somebody got a used up one out of the vending machine and yanked it.
Oh my gosh.
Every, just trying to minimize that, the brutality.
Right.
Well, no, because I got a stuff downstairs. This is just,
Oh, yeah, okay. We can talk about it. Okay.
whatever.
Yes.
So
Okay.
it's 10 o'clock.